Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. 49 coming at you another community shoutcast for the OUSA Dota League Season 2, loading into game number 2 of Horsemen and Ruckus up against Weed Unit. Joining me from my co-caster is the mid player from 2IP, or now known as 5IP, Mule. How are you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, thank you. Also a good game.
Yeah, 69 minutes, jeez. If the rest of the series go this long, I don't think I'll be sleeping all tonight. I mean, Horsemen and Ruckus really able to show off the fact that Ember Spirit, while he has received a lot of nerfs with the recent patch, still is a very powerful hero, just in the sense that if you play him that one position role, even if you decide not to split push, just the fact that you could delay them from being a breach high ground, and just make it as difficult as possible for them to be able to try to take your tier 3s, just because you could keep throwing out the Slater Fist and do a huge amount of damage. And you could eventually drag the game to the ultra late stage, where if you build enough damage in the Ember Spirit, your Slater Fist will just one-shot the supports. And Brewmaster immediately being banned out by HOR, so the fearing the power from DJ Ganja was able to play a very good one-position Brewmaster in that last game. Doom first pick coming out, however, for Weed Unit. They really don't want to mess around with an Ember Spirit again this time, so if they do pick up an Ember Spirit, Doom will just blink and Doom his face. Void once again being banned up for Horsemen and Ruckus, so they really don't want to deal with the offlane Void, who can single-handedly just win you fights with the Chronosphere. And they're going for a Clockwork Viper combination. So UGTFO played a fantastic Clockwork. He was the reason why they were able to hold on to their tier 3s for so long, is he could constantly keep delaying the push of the Cogs. He could catch out individual heroes at the hookshot to ensure that when they decide to disengage, he could at least get a kill off the back of that. And every time he died, he was able to buy back to be able to try to do everything he could to delay the enemy push. Lycan and Invoker being banned out by Weed Unit. So they really don't want to deal with the death ball coming out from Lycan, as well as that fact that if you lose a fight against a Lycan, you immediately lose instead of Rax. He just has such amazing pushing power that in the later stages of the game, if you're caught out without buyback, and when the respawn cooldown time is a lot longer, Lycan could easily clear out instead of Rax. Or in the ultra late game, you can simply go for the throne and end the game as quickly as possible. Invoker being banned out just because a huge amount of teamfight control that comes out from the Quas Wex build, although that has been phased out, and every single comp game where Invoker has been picked up at TI has always been the Quas Exalt build, and that has a lot of power, especially with the Clockwork Goblin. If you're able to go for the Quas Exalt build, you can actually throw him as a safe lane farmer or as an off-lane solo. So you can find his farm that way, off-lane solo in the 1v1 position, so off-laner v off-laner. Since with the Sunstrike, he can participate in ganks from across the map, and once you get the double Forge Spirits up and the Necronomicon, you could go in for a lot of pushes with the Zoo Invoker build. The Necro 3 does double Forge Spirits. You can push down towers, and you have a huge amount of teamfight impact with the Chaos Meteor, as well as the Deafening Blast. So Quas Exalt Invoker provides you a lot more mid-game power, a lot more individual pick-off power than the Quas Wex build. It also gives you a lot easier early game, but the drawback of it is you do need a fair amount of gold for it to be effective. And Invoker, since he's such a greedy hero, you have to build your team around that, and you need a very effective Invoker player to boot. So there's a lot of variables to keep in mind. But Weed Unit, they don't want to deal with it at all. Both Dumbledy and Kinkiller play a fantastic Invoker, and so they decide to ban it out. They're really deliberating on their second pick, almost chewing through all their reserve time. What do you think they're thinking of, Mule? Because, I mean, Tidehunter still is in the pool, and Tinker is in the pool, and they are the Radiant side.
Yeah.
So they can choose to run a one-position Doombringer, have a Tidebringer offlane, or if they could run the offlane Doom and go for a Tinker, they instead go for a Dazzle. So a lot of reserve time wasted just for a Dazzle pickup. Probably not the most effective usage of their time. But that being said, Dazzle still is a very powerful support hero. He offers a lot in all stages of the game. You can use him to help set up kills with the Poison Touch as well as the Healing Wave. Dazzle and SD, for instance, is one of the most powerful support duos in the game. Just because you initiate with the Disruption, run up with the Dazzle as well as the Shadow Demon, so when the hero pops out, they're surrounded by 4 units and you immediately heal bomb them. And with the Soul Catcher, that's pretty much an instant kill. Timbersaw being banned out just because Timbersaw does so well against the Clockwork, although that being said, if Clockwork is able to get a few cog blocks off early on, and push out the Timbersaw and drain his mana, he can control the lane quite well, but otherwise the Timbersaw will walk all over the Clockwork Goblin, and once he hits level 6, Clockwork can't stay in lane against the Timbersaw. Weaver being banned out, since he's a very powerful tri-lane farmer, and that 1v1 position against the Clockwork, he does do very well as well. So Horsemen and Ruckus, they're banning out strong offlaners to ensure that if UGTFO is going to be going 1v1 against the other offlaner, he has every advantage he needs, since that means that Horsemen and Ruckus might be looking to clash try-v-try. They're banning out Death Prophet and Shadow Shaman, so a lot of pushing bans coming out from Weed Unit. All of their picks, including the Quas Exalt Invoker, have a lot of pushing power built into them, and so they're banning out all kind of pushing heroes since they don't want to deal with that, and so that's what cost them the last game. Gats on the Shadow Shaman was able to consistently mass Serpent Ward trap the Bristleback to lock him out of these fights, and once you lose a fight against the Shadow Shaman with Mass Serpent Ward still up, you can just take a set of, you can take your tower, you can take a set of racks if you're not too careful. Razor being picked up by Weed Unit, so most likely going to be a mid Razor and an offlane Doombringer, unless they decide to make it a one position Doom and pick up another offlaner. So Doom in that offlane 1v1 against the Clockwork, he fares a lot better than other melee heroes since he doesn't have to get as many creeps as they do, just because through Devour he's still able to find his farm. And with the Scorched Earth, he can actually stand toe to toe and man fight the Clockwork Goblin. He's called out with the Battery Assault. Razor, very powerful 1v1 mid hero, so it's going to be Razor up against Viper once again from the look of it, and it's a pretty even matchup. I mean, it could go either way, and that last matchup of game number 1, Viper was able to get the upper hand of the Razor. They invested a lot of resources to ensure that Viper was able to get ahead, so they had Skywrath Mage harass him from 1, so Viper could get a free wave of experience and gold, while the Razor was denied. Viper was then able to use that gold to pick up boots as soon as possible, so he could outrange the Link. And so through that, he was able to out-deny and out-harass and passively win the lane against the Razor. So Sand King being picked up, so Ancient Apparition Sand King combo coming out from Horsemen the Ruckus. It'll most likely be Method Man over in the Sand King and Gats over in the Ancient Apparition. Very powerful support duo, but the drawback to this is because Sand King has such a low initiation range of the Burrow Strike, you have to start with boots first on Sand King if you decide to play very aggressively. Otherwise, Sand King will be playing very passively, stacking and clearing out creeps using that Sandstorm, and in that case you'll be playing Sand King as a very greedy 4 position where you want to get Blink Dagger up as soon as possible. What are your thoughts so far on the picks and bans, Mule?
Yeah, quite like the AA pick. Just negates completely shut down the Dazzle.
As well as the Doom, since it shuts down the Scorched Earth, so yeah, AA does a lot of work.
Doom as well. Yeah.
And if you Clash Try, you've got that Chilling Touch. So Horsemen and Ruckus, they've got a lot of early game power coming out from their lineup.
5 seconds remaining.
Weed Unit's really delivering, they're almost actually out of time. They pick up the Shadow Demon, so they're going for that tried and true combination just as they run out of time. So might be 5200 over in that Shadow Demon. That's one of his signature heroes. The Shadow Demon and the Dazzle combination that provides you a huge amount of killing power. But that being said, Sand King is one of those heroes that makes it a bit tricky since you could Burrow Strike out in time if you time it perfectly. You have to time the healing wave before Sand King Burrow Strikes out. So Sand King's an excellent counter pick or a pick against the Shadow Demon, since you can't. It's very hard to be able to execute that combo effectively against the Sand King unless you're 100% on the money. He will be able to get out. And but however, the Ancient Apparition, if you catch out Ancient Apparition with the Disruption Soul Catcher with the Dazzle Shadow Wave coming out, it will instantly kill the AA. So we do not have a very powerful support duo compared to the AA Sand King, which and the later the game goes, they provide a lot more teamfight impact. They have a lot more late game presence with the Epicenter and the Ice Blast, but they don't have that immediate jump in, jump out, pick off potential until they pick up a few levels. Since Sand King, Burrow Strike at level 1 and level 2, incredibly small range. Centaur Warrior being banned out as well. Although Centaur Warrior v Clockwork actually does very well against the Centaur in that 1v1 offlane matchup. They're banning out Slark once again, so a lot of bans coming out from Weed Unit that have been repeated. The Death Prophet, the Slark, the Invoker, and the Lycanthrope. The only new ban this time around is the Shadow Shaman. So Weed Unit know how Horsemen and Ruckus play, and they're banning out their heroes that fit that kind of playstyle. But Horsemen and Ruckus, they still haven't chosen their 1 position farmer, so once again, leaving their carry till the very end, since they've got a very versatile carry player with King Killer, as well as Dumble D, who could play both the carry and the mid role quite effectively. So what carry do you think would work best with HOR's lineup, Mule?
5 seconds remaining.
HOR, it would be the first position. Oh, it would be Doom or Flame, what is that?
Yeah. Who do you reckon will work well for HOR as their 1 position?
Inside. Doom is okay, I guess, because we're tanky Doom.
Yeah. And with the Chilling Touch as well. Damage on damage. Chilling Touch and the Lunar Blessing. But then once again, they're going for the Ember Spirit. But Ember Spirit this time could be a bit of a mistake, because you've got the Doombringer, and Doombringer loves heroes like the Ember Spirit.
Yeah.
So Doom has to rush a Blink Dagger. But once again, they're putting faith in King Killer's Wu-Tang style. They're going for a Naga Siren! So this tri-lane just got a lot more dangerous. It could actually be a mid-Naga Siren as well. But no, 5200, gonna be the Razor, so he's the mid player, and DJ Ganja.
Dazzle.
Yeah, so Naga Siren tri-lane with the Dazzle and Shadow Demon, that's very powerful.
Interesting.
Dazzle and Naga Siren's also a very powerful combo, because you throw out the Ensnare, use the Mirror Image, walk up to images, and then you Shadow Wave them. Since Shadow Wave, it bounces off every single unit, and it does a huge amount of damage. So with a level 1 Shadow Wave, for instance, if it bounces off...
Which just does so much damage.
Yeah, so Soul Catcher amplifies damage both and provides an extra... the damage that's amplified is composite, so it's both magic and physical. And with the Riptide coming out from the Naga Siren, it's a huge amount of damage. This is going to introduce the players from both teams. Over on the Dire side for Horsemen and Ruckus, Rizza, Gizza, and the Kin Killer over on the Ember Spirit. Going to be that one position Ember Spirit once again. Dumbledy over the mid player for the team over on the Viper. He's going to be taking mid. And UGTFO, the offlane player, over on the 3 position Clockwork. Gat's going to be the 4 position on the Ancient Apparition, although in this case he'd be the 5 position as the Sand King. Played by Method Man will be the 4 position, at least until he gets his Blink Dagger. Then he'll switch to roll around. 5-200 over for the Boys and Weed unit, going to be the mid player as the Razor. 2F high over in the Dazzle. Past the J over in the Shadow Demons, the 4 and 5 respectively. Sky over on the Doombringer, going to be the offlane, starting with Boots as well as the safety ward, so playing it safe. And DJ Ganja going to be the Naga Siren, it's that 1 position farmer. We're going to be seeing some Ice or Miracle level plays coming out from him, hopefully. Starting with 2 sets of Tangos, as well as the Quelling Blade. He wants to make sure that he can stay in lane for as long as possible and get everything. And Double D choosing this time to start with Boots, so he knows that Viper, because he's such a slow hero, Razor wins mid lane by starting with Boots first, so it's a counter Boots pickup with a Viper. Could actually pay off if he's able to prevent the Link coming out from 5-200 at level 1. He'll be able to use that to be able to control the creep equilibrium, since he chose not to go to skill up his abilities first, so he could choose to skill up Nether Toxin over Poison Attack at 1, and use that to simply passively win his lane. Haste Rune being pinged up by UGTFO, so it's going to ensure he gets level 2. Safety Ward still isn't being used. Fairly unconventional safety ward placement over for the Doombringer to ensure that he can spot movement coming in from both sides. However, it means that this area is completely blind. Method Man on the Sand King. No boots up on him, but Sentry Ward, so they want to have D-warded out. So by placing it there, it means that if you place, since the traditional safety ward's over there, if you place a D-ward, you might just be able to catch him out. In the mid lane, UGTFO with the Haste Rune. Actually, he might be able to catch him out. Disruption over Pasta J a lot of damage. Poison Attack level 1. UGTFO. Haste Rune unfortunately was purged off. 5-200 running in as well to provide a bit of covering fire. Chilling Touch doing a lot of damage. Pasta J can be taken for 1 more right click and battery slot at 1. And they're able to get first blood for Horsemen and Ruckus. However, that means that Clockwork has to be incredibly careful now. Without Cogs at 1, he is easy food for the rotating supports. And over the top lane, Ember Spirit being left alone against Doombringer gets a lot of creep kills for free. And Naga Siren is being completely uncontested. She's 3 for 4. Razor as well, also farming very well. So despite the first blood kill over for Horsemen and Ruckus, in terms of their lane and the equilibrium, they actually aren't doing as well as they'd like. But they should be able to leverage around for a kill. Good recognition coming out from UGTFO, rotating over to catch out the supports as they went into place the ward. And UGTFO with the supports playing very passively, since Dazzle has to walk back into lane, and until they hit level 2 they can't do their combo. He should be able to hit level 2 off the back of this. Link being used over in Dumbledy, and he's able to drain out, get 3 ticks of it off, so that means the Viper can't contest for CS at all. So 5-200, he's off to a great start. Despite the counter boots pickup, Razor's still able to get off a fairly good Link, and is able to control the lane very well. So like I said, it's a pretty 50-50 matchup. It can go either way. And the last game it went in favor of the Viper, this time it's going in favor of the Razor. The 5-200, a lot more experience over on the Razor than he is in the Viper. And the mid lane, over in the mid lane, and the top lane, Sky, he actually runs a bit too far forward. If he eats a Siren Chains right now, could be eating a fair amount of damage, but with the boots, and the Juke is way up. Method Man also coming in as well. Actually throws him with the cold feet. Eats the Burst Strike, devours the creep before he dies. Creeps are there to be able to delay the Siren Chains, but I think he should be taking a full Sky there. Could have simply run straight, maybe would have been able to get out of range before Method Man called him out. But feeds a kill to the Ember Spirit, and King Killer's off to a great start. Viper looks like he's recovered somewhat. He's able to start harassing out the Razor now. And usually Razor, you want to go for a 4-2-1 build, but against a hero like a Viper, you want to max out your static link. So that takes priority. Do you think he should be maxing out the Plasma Field before his Unstable Current, or would you like to see him max out the Unstable Current again? Yeah, the Plasma Field gives you a huge amount of damage.
As well at the same time.
Gank attempt over on UGTFO. But with the Cogs, he should be able to walk himself out. And despite Radiant offlane having a much easier time, with Sky feeding that kill over the King Killer, he actually eats a Siren Chains in the face right now. Chilling Touch doing a lot of damage, so Song of Ice and Fire coming out from Horsemen and Ruckus. You get chilled up and then you get burned at the same time. I guess someone should send a memo to Stannis. Ember Spirits, Azor high. These swords are even on fire as well. Tinfoil checks out for me. And Sand King, he knows that his jungle's been warded up. Actually, UGTFO actually getting killed over in Pastor J before he takes a fall, catching him out the clock with the battery stall as well as the Cogs. And UGTFO did this in game number 1. He does it again. Pastor J, aligned the last game. This time going to be the Dazzle taking the Shadow Demon this time taking a fall. So all the lanes going in favor of Horsemen and Ruckus, with the exception of the mid lane. But Dumble D isn't as far behind as he was in the last game, so he actually is recovering fairly well, actually doing a fair amount of damage on 5-200. He turns around the link. Dumble D decides to commit for it, goes for the haste rinse, and he knows that 5-200 can't go for a kill attempt then, and is able to recover his bottle. And with that corrosive skin doing a fair amount of tick damage, 5-200, huge amount of damage up on him, but with the haste rinse, Dumble D's just poking and prodding. He's playing very cheeky. And the bot lane, DJ Ganja, farming up his Storm, wants to be going forward to that Radiant as soon as possible. Choosing to max out the Riptide, it's a fairly standard build coming up from him. Usually you see, sometimes Naga Siren players actually choose to skip a point over in the ensnare. Do you think in this matchup, especially with the 2 support heroes, he should be going for a point in the ensnare, or do you think he should just go for more points in the mirror image?
Yeah, I would go for point in the mirror image because since you have disruption already.
Yeah, because you've got Disrupt and the Poison Touch, so having that extra point in the mirror image helps you farm a lot faster. But that being said, it does give you a way to cancel TPs, which is something that the supports really like. Since outside of the poison, unless you get 3 points in Poison Touch, Dazzle can't interrupt TPs, and you're using the Disruption to initiate. So Clockwork always can choose just to Cog and TP back out. Very aggressive plays coming out from the tri-lane of Horsemen of Ruckus.
Oh yeah, top lane.
Compared to the UGTFO, usually this is the other way around. You usually see the Dire off lane in a Dire straight, and the Radiant off lane off to a great time. But level 5 over in UGTFO compared to level 4.5 on the Doom, he still has recovered fairly well, just off the back of Devour. Since UGTFO, he doesn't really have all too many creeps to his name, 6 compared to 8. But with that kill, they was able to get over and past the J, as well as the First Blood, farming up a lot better. 5-200 actually eats Viper Strike to the face. Dumble D just casually ults him. Breaks the link as well. Actually could go for a kill attempt, but Invis Rune spotted out by 5-200. And Kai bottles up before he grabs it. Turns around, could actually go for a kill attempt, especially with the supports from the Radiant side, rotating over past the J and Dazzle. Unfortunately, neither of them is smoked up.
Oh, he didn't. The Dazzle didn't go for the Shadow Wave, so can't do that much damage.
And UGTFO actually gets a solo kill over in DJ Ganja. UGTFO is on fire this series. He picks up his phase boot, so he's having a great time. And Naga Siren, who was the saving grace for his team, takes a fall. Dazzle opted to go for the Shallow Grave as well, so the killing power from the Dazzle SD, not even there yet. You gotta wait till level 3. And in that case, it's too little too late. The Clockwork Goblin, he's already handedly won his offlane. Dumble D actually choosing to max out Nether Toxin, so recognizing he's upping into Razor.
Level 7.
Yikes. Yeah, Clockwork's actually the highest level in the game. How often do you see this happening, the offlaner? So the rationale for Dumble D maxing out the Nether Toxin over the Corrosive Skin is because he knows that since his damage is going to be leached out, if the Razor is low enough, he can still deal damage to the Nether Toxin instead, since you can't leech that damage away from him. Since otherwise, you usually want to max out the Nether Toxin, or at least go for a split build where you get 2 points in the Nether Toxin, then you want to max out the Corrosive Skin. Because Viper's a very squishy hero without the Corrosive Skin, but with it, he's damn nigh impossible to kill, especially early on, when the majority of damage is magic. And the snare that provides can be quite effective, especially against certain heroes such as the Ancient Apparition. If he Ice Blasts you, he's going to be caught up with the snare for the next 11 seconds until the debuff wears off. Method Man, playing very far forward, boots up on him now. Choosing not to play the passive farming 4 position sanking, but instead a very active one. So he needs to get kills in order for it to be effective. Dumble D going deep, up against 5-200. UGTFO's there as well, jukes him out, unfortunately called out with the battery assault. UGTFO absolutely on fire this game. Did he use the hookshot to initiate into that, or did he whiff it?
No, he whiffed it.
Yeah, it looks like he whiffed it since
he was just hiding in the trees.
Yeah. Gats over on the Ancient Apparition, actually choosing to max Cold Feet over the Chilling Touch. Usually you want to max out the Chilling Touch to provide a lot more damage, but in this particular case, since Ken Killer isn't really going to be doing a lot of right-click damage, the majority of damage coming out from magic damage, having the extra point over on Cold Touch, especially the setup with the Searing Chain and the Burrow Strike, gives you a lot more reliable killing power. Whereas the Chilling Touch provides you a huge burst of damage, but since you have 2 melee heroes instead of 2 ranged heroes in that tri-lane, Going for more points in the cold feet is usually a lot more effective.
But Doom skipped his ulti. I guess he just needed survivability, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, the disadvantage of that is that means Doom isn't going to be doing anything. Although he'll be hitting level 7 very quickly, so maybe he just knows that he can't gank right now.
Get up, yeah.
No Tranquil Boots up on him. Looks like he's going to be rushing towards that Blink Dagger. 3-man smoke. Looks like Method Man actually broke his smoke. 5-200, eats the cold feet. Slay the Fist, Siren Chain combination, then the Burrow Strike as well as the Viper Strike. Shallow Grave keeping him alive, too fucking high, fleeing for his life. Eats the Plasma Field. Actually able to turn around, do a little bit of damage before he takes the fall. Gats spots him out. One more right click coming in from Double D. And there you go, Gats gets another kill. And Horsemen and Ruckus really stepping all over Weed Unit. Weed Unit were off to a great start in game number 1. They're able to control the early game and the mid game. It was just the ultra late game where it started to fall apart. But this time, Horsemen and Ruckus taking no chances. Ember Spirit almost has his Battle Fury. So 1,100 got away from that. If he's able to get that tower last hit, he'll be that much closer. Viper actually takes it instead. So Double D, he'll have enough for his mechanism up fairly soon at the rate he's farming. 300 more gold up for him. Yeah, he's already buying out the 2 major components. UGTFO, 1,500 gold staved up on him. Probably going to be going towards that Aghanim Scepter. Looks like Method Man's having a few issues. And 10 minutes in, game number 2, very different game to game number 1. 5,000 gold lead already in favor of Horsemen and Ruckus, and 3,000 EXP lead. Sky over on the offlane Doombringer, he's very close to his Blink Dagger, he will be having it up fairly soon. Still chose to skip his Doom, so he knows that he's not going to be all too effective. The reason why you pick Doom as an offlane here is the instant you hit 6, you have a free kill. Every time you Doom someone, they're dead. It turns them into a creep, it turns them to worse than a creep. At least creeps have a bit more movement speed and a bit more HP. You Doom them, pop that Scorch Dust, just keep hitting them. Also notice as well, Doombringer actually hasn't eaten the neutral creep. Usually the reason why Doombringer in the offlane works is at the very start of a game, you're running through these camps, and you grab a creep. If you could grab, say, a Satyr with the +3 HP regen per second, keep yourself alive. If you grab the healing creep, you have the 2 mana per second regen that you get from that. If you eat the healing creep, you pretty much make Crystal Maiden obsolete. You're getting more mana than you get from the Crystal Maiden, and you have a heal, so you can keep yourself in lane. You can eat the Satyr for the mana bun, so you can keep the Ember Spirit's mana low so he can't go for an engagement. There's a lot of work you can do by eating those creeps, and that's how Doom bringing the offlane works. If you eat the Kobold, you have the extra movement speed, so with that, Boots and Scorched Earth, it makes it very difficult for them to go for a kill attempt on you. Even if you eat the Wildkin, having the plus armor aura is very powerful. But Doombringer in this case, he's only been eating, Sky's only been eating regular creeps, so he doesn't have any of the neutral abilities, and so he hasn't really been utilizing this hero to the fullest extent that he really can. But the mid tower taking a fall once again. It opens up a lot more space for the supports for Horsemen and Ruckus to rotate. So there's that much map control that you're seceding, so it means that the supports can rotate into the jungle through there. They can catch out Ancients, they could also go in for a smoke gank, catch them out over there, especially with the tier 1 over in the top lane being gone. So UGTFO doing what he can to continue to be a nuisance. Naga Siren, well, she is a very powerful one-position hero if she gets her items up, because she took her death early on, and because she's up against a much more early game lineup from Horsemen and Ruckus, until she gets her Radiance, she's not really going to do much, and even when she gets her Radiance, she still needs another 10-15 minutes to be effective. So the reason why we have seen the Miracle Naga Siren taper off a lot in the competitive scene is because it just takes too much to get going. When you've got heroes like the offlane Faceless Void and the Tidehunter, who could fight the instant they hit level 6, who could simply catch you out and go for a solo kill, Naga Siren needs too much to get going. Even Tinker was considered a very greedy pickup, and is a bit more reliable since
Doom still has no Doom.
Sky actually chose to go for a Midas as well, so this is a recovery Midas. Sky, please. So the reason why Midas in this game isn't that great is when you're 0 and 7, Midas doesn't give you anything. It's 2,000 gold just down the drain. I mean, later on it will pay for itself if you could drag the game out for 10 more minutes, but that's 10 minutes before you get another big item, and you can't do anything. 2FI actually spots out Double D with the Invis, or at least he's been body blocked, so he should know something's not quite right. And when you've got a very greedy hero with the Naga Siren, yeah, who's going to be taking a while to be coming into play, you really want items that let you fight now. Double D's going to wait till 2FI is on his own. They could go in for a kill attempt, at least force him to use that Shallow Grave. Since Shallow Grave is a very long cooldown, at least in the early stages. Turns around, throws out the Viper Strike, 5-200's like, see ya buddy, I'm just going to get this creep. And Double D just throws out a casual Viper Strike, and it actually takes out about half of Dazzle's life. Ancient Apparition Ice Blast unfortunately whiffs, but RZA gives it a King Killer, kills off Sky, and in the background, over in the top lane, and that's a Battle Fury up on him. So half the time it took from to get it in the last game. 12-minute Battle Fury over the Ember Spirit. And Method Man almost took a fall for that. No Doom up on the Doombringer. If he had Doom, he could have at least made the trade, but this time, now he's at least eating a Centaur Warrunner. So he's got that Hoof Stomp. And UGTFO, halfway to his Aghanim Scepter, 12 minutes into the game, DJ Ganja has to fear for his life every time he's left alone with the Clockwork, and if your supports are constantly babysitting your one position, you simply take the other lanes, you win the other lanes. Dumbledy, Mechanism up on him. 12 minutes into the game, Horsemen and Ruckus in a very commanding lead. And Method Man Arcane Boots up off the tower pushes and off the assist goal that he's gotten since he hasn't died at all. 5-200, almost as a mech up. Hookshot unfortunately whiffs once again. UGTFO really needs to scout that out with the Rocket Flare before he went in, but he didn't want to give away the fact that he was going to go in for a hookshot. So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of moment. Usually want to throw out the Rocket Flare just to ensure where they are, since you can just click on them. Hookshot flies out so quickly that most players aren't able to react fast enough for you to be able to dodge it. 2FI being pinged out, he knows they're hanging, the supports are rotating in from the enemy team. And with 3 heroes grouped up in the mid lane, 1 farming in the jungle.
Radiant jungle is completely warded.
Yeah. So once again, the Dire team choosing to play hyper aggressive and ward out the enemy jungle. They know that the only way the only way they can turn this game around is if Naga Siren gets farmed. And Naga Siren gets farmed by clearing out the jungle as well as the wave at the same time. But Naga Siren, DJ Ganja hasn't been using his mirror images that effectively. He's been keeping them grouped up over in his lane, and they're instantly dying to the Rocket Flare. When you're playing a Naga Siren, especially with that farming position, you want to have them out in the off lane, out in the jungle. Ken Killer went in for the Siren Chamber. Unfortunately, with the creeps there, wasn't able to latch onto him. It's always a crapshoot when the creeps around. So DJ Ganja really needs to be using his Riptide more effectively with the mirror images. His supports have to be stacking these camps for him. And the Shadow Demon can stack 3 camps at the same time if you time it properly. So I believe you pull this camp. No, you pull out this camp with the Shadow Poison, attack this one, and then Shadow Poison the other one. You can stack these 3 at the same time.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Ember Spirit smacking on the top lane. The Chilling Touch up on him. He should be able to cleave through the creep wave very quickly. 5-200 will be able to pick up his Mechanism off the back of this creep wave. But when your Tier 2 is taking a lot of fire, and when your Razor can't really engage this early on, without fear of death, since the Doombringer isn't offering you anything at the moment, he's now got a point up in Doom. And the Naga Siren can't do anything at all. UGTFO gets another solo kill over on 2FI. His Clockwork Goblin really has been running roughshod over the enemy team. Almost has his Aghanim Scepter. 800 gold off that. 5-200. Gonna be eating the Siren Chain. As Ken Killer, you force it, use the Remnant to ensure that he catches. 10-0. Horsemen and Ruckus is really in a commanding lead for game number 2. And immediately, we've got Dumbledy pinging out the bottom lane. They want to take that tier 1. Deprive Naga Siren for that last bastion of gold. She has picked up her Sacred Relic. So she should be able to pick up her Radiance in the next 3 or 4 minutes. And that could be an avenue for a comeback. But the issue is, even if she does have the Radiance, she's got 800 HP. Each of these images are going to die immediately. While Radiance on a lot of heroes, it's a farming item. So it's the reason why you don't see a lot of Radiance carriers in the competitive scene. It's because they take too long to become effective. It's the reason why you don't see Anti-Mage so much as well. He needs too much farm to get going, since he has to build a Battle Fury, then he has to farm for another 10 minutes, and then you can start fighting. Same thing with the Naga Siren. But the advantage of the Naga Siren is you could usually split push and pressure other lanes with the mirror images. But when you're this far behind, when your mirror image is going to die immediately, even if you are able to get the Radiance up, they can simply group up as 5 and take out all your towers and then start pressuring you and start trying to breach high ground. Naga Siren in the 5v5 with just a Radiance will die immediately, especially once with the Epicenter up from Sand King, as well as King Killer with the Flame Guard. You can immediately tell which one's the real one. Gat's caught up with the Doom, goes a bit too far forward, trying to throw out the ultimate. So Sky finally able to use the ability the reason why you picked the hero. Call up the Demonic Purge as well, ultimate completely whiffs. But King Killer kills off Dazzle in the background. Because they know that with Doom down, Ember Spirit doesn't have to fear for anything. And King Killer, even though he got a very early Battle Fury, he's choosing not to farm, he's choosing to fight instead. And for good reason, Pastor J fleeing for his life, TP's about out. Sky buys his blink, so he has finished his core a bit too late. But with Doom now up and level 2 Doom, he can start making space for his team and start locking. He has to lock out either the Ember Spirit or the Sand King in these engagements. If he can catch Sand King before he uses the Epicenter, can completely remove his effectiveness from the fight. But he really wants to catch out the Ember Spirit, since the Ember Spirit, if left uncontested, as we saw in the last game, will destroy your entire team. Ice Blast flying out, scouting Ice Blast just to check if there are any supports hiding in the trees, in case TP support is rotating in. Mech now up for Razor, so very late mechanism, especially considering he rushed it. Viper, probably going to be building towards the Agnum Scepter, now has that maxed out Corrosive Skin, 3 points up in it now. He'll be having a point over in the ultimate, and then he'll have the final point up. But when you're playing this aggressively, you don't necessarily need those early points up in the Corrosive Skin. The extra points in Nether Toxin mean that when you go for pickoffs, which is what Horsemen and Ruckus are going for, you're going to be able to kill them a lot faster. Blink Dagger now up on the Sand King, so he's having a fantastic game. You've now got the Blink, Burrow Strike, Epicenter combination coming up from Sand King to ensure that you could output your entire payload into the enemy team. Shadow Demon's level 7, so he has gotten a fair amount of farm. Dazzle chose to go for a lot of points over in Poison type, so this is a very aggressive Dazzle build that you usually see if you're playing ahead, if you're going to be rotating a lot. But in a game like this, when you're playing from behind, you want to max out the Shadow Grave, you want to max out the Shadow Wave. So since 1 point the Shadow Wave isn't really going to do much of anything, the SD and the Dazzle weren't able to accomplish anything in their lane since the Clockwork Goblin was able to catch him out. Method actually called out with the Doom. But Dumble simply turns around with the Viper Strike, and King Killer says, "Hey mate, you forgot about me." Method Man still fleeing for his life, and then wait until the Doom wears off, then he can try to re-engage. Disruption over on King Killer. He's actually out of mana, eats the Ensnare as well. He's got enough for a Sleight of Fist, but he could be taking a fall if he's not too careful. 5200 is able to finish him off. Method Man uses the Epicenter, he's able to get it. But unfortunately, too little too late. Hookshot over in the background. Unfortunately, whiffs. Shallow Grave keeping him alive. Dumble they completely ignored the Viper because they knew they could kill the other heroes instead. He's able to get a retaliatory kill over and past the J. 5200 fleeing for his life. UGTFO has the hookshot, catches him out the Agnum Scepter, and 5200 takes a fall. The double kill going in favor of Dumble. So very messy trade coming out from both teams. Fairly even considering the fact that it's a core for a support for a core and a support. And when you're this far behind, any trade's a good trade, especially so long as you're able to get a kill on their core heroes. The Dumble halfway towards his Agnum Scepter, but that early Agnum Scepter over on UGTFO doing a lot of work. Gats could be taking a fall. Yeah, Sky uses the Blink Centaur Hoofstomp, catches him out and gets a free kill. Gats has been out on his own a lot. That's one of the advantages of the AA, is the fact that you don't have to technically be in a fight, since you can throw out the Ice Blast. But he had to back away the instant he saw what happened on the bottom lane, so he knows that they could be going for him. So they're going to place a lot of pressure on the bottom lane, but that 17-minute Agnum Scepter upgrade on the Clockwork Goblin doing a lot of work. Even though he whiffed the first hookshot, he was able to use the second one to catch out 5200. UGTFO 5-0. Unsung hero for his team, really creating a lot of space. Ember Spirit going towards that Desolator. Desolator this game, especially this early on, does a huge amount of work. Since none of the heroes have that much armor at the moment, the only hero that has a fair amount of armor is Razor, and that's just because of the mech. The Naga Siren's 9 armor up on her, but her images will be dying from the Sleight of Fist damage. And if she's clumped up with them, she'll be dying. And Dazzle and the SD, 3-4 armor apiece. The -7 armor coming up for him, the Desolator will just tear through them. But with the Radiance up, there are a few signs of life for Weed Unit. If they are able to delay the game for another 10-20 minutes, if they're able to find space and not lose their another tier 2, then they could try to recover. Since DJ Ganja probably wants to be building towards Drums of Endurance so he could fight immediately, or at least to give himself a lot more movement and maneuverability. Since one of the things with the Naga Siren is once you have the Radiance up, you want to build as much attacks, movement speed as possible on your illusions, so it increases the efficiency of your mirror images. And the faster they move, the longer they could split push down lanes, the longer the more damage they could deal on neutral creeps, so the faster you farm. The reason why you usually see Drums of Endurance picked up, then the Radiance, then you go towards the Yasha or the Boots of Travel, either or works. Since once you have the Boots of Travel, you don't have to be afraid of anything, since if the enemy team tries to go for a gank on you, you use your Song of the Siren and you TP back home. So you can constantly place that pressure all across the map. But of course the drawback of the one position Naga Siren is similar to a Tinker. She takes farm from your entire team, so she farms everywhere at once. So the rest of your team, they're going to be starved for golden as well as experience, so they have to find some way to be able to recover. So you want to pick heroes that don't necessarily need all too much farm to be effective, who are able to hold the line while she gets incredibly farmed, or heroes that can fight immediately and can win fights, 4v5. So with the Doombringer, he can find farm through Devour, so and with the Midas as well, so he's able to at least keep up on items. And the Razor with the mech can try to hold the line, but Aegis the Immortal now up on King Killer, and a completed Desolator flying out towards him. Naga Siren Illusions doing what they can to push out the waves. So they have to try to nibble away at the tier 1 over in the top lane and the bot lane. Looks like they're grouping up with 2 over in the top lane. So DJ Ganja hiding the tree line. Sky, Boots of Travels as well as the Blink Tag up on him. He's highly mobile. So they need to continue to nibble away and split push and try to drag the game out as late as possible. But that being said, they have to be careful of the Ember Spirit in the ultra late game, since as you saw in the last game, 69 minutes, and Ember Spirit was able to single-handedly win these fights so long as he wasn't disabled.
Tower is doing its best, but it doesn't look
What do you reckon Weed Unit should be doing right now, Mule?
Yeah, they just have to keep split pushing.
is under attack.
Take some towers. They haven't taken any towers yet. There's a lot of gold waiting for them.
Yeah, these tier 1 towers are basically cash pinatas that can smack open. Same with UGTFO. If you could get a pick off on UGTFO, a lot of gold that could be going towards your team. 10,000 gold lead in favor of Horsemen the Ruckus. And it looks like a 7,000 EXP lead. Since one of the drawbacks of having a Viper is he farms very slowly.
Clockwork.
UGTFO, he doesn't give a single fuck. He's playing very far forward.
Clockwork.
And the entire team runs away from UGTFO. Looks like he's going towards the Shiva's Guard once again.
The Radiant should really
They're pinging him out. UGTFO knows that they're playing very afraid. Usually the Doombringers, that he can blink and Doom can kill her right now. They could try to take a fight off the back of that, but they know that since Naga Siren can't really do anything at this point, she'll die too quickly if she tries to engage. UGTFO used the hookshot to steal farm from King Killer, and Weed Unit is still afraid. DJ Ganja really had to continue split pushing over the bottom lane. I don't know why he TP'd back. He needed to continue to place pressure all across the map. His mirror image immediately takes a fall, but does a fair amount of chip damage over in the creep wave. And that's just one, that's without the Riptide. So Weed Unit definitely have the potential to delay the game, split push. They just have to execute a lot better. Sky smacking away the tail on the top lane. He knows that with the boots of travels as well as the blink dagger, it's going to be difficult to be able to catch him out. He can always BOT back in if they need him.
is under attack.
Since Horsemen the Ruckus, the difference between this game and the last game is they don't have that Shadow Shaman who can split push. Sky actually called out with the Doom as he dooms out UGTFO, but UGTFO should be able to kill him before he dies. So 1 for 1, but DJ Ganja actually gets the kill for that. He gets 800 gold. That's his boots of travels if he wants it.
Oh, that's a lot of money.
And Dumbledore with the haster, and he wants to ensure that he gets the kill. No TP out for DJ Ganja, so he's going to be taking a free fall here. He at least buys it out. Yeah, he buys boots of travels before he dies. And since a lot of his gold was reliable gold, he doesn't actually lose anything. So good recognition coming out from the Naga Siren. But the difference with Horsemen and Ruckus' lineup in the last game is they had a dedicated pusher with the Shadow Shaman. So it meant that if they wanted to split push, they could at least take towers, but this time they don't have any dedicated pushes. It's going to take them a long time. So that means that Weed Unit, they really have that avenue to be able to keep split pushing, to try to take towers, trade towers where they can, and keep the waves pushed out. And try to delay at least until Naga Siren gets a lot more gold. 5-200 actually denies the tier 2. Bitch slaps the tier 2 away from King Killer. Regen run over on the Viper, so he's going to be using that to get himself back up to full HP and mana. Looks like he's going towards the Aghanim Scepter. Almost has it. He should actually have it up by now. Yeah, he's got the complete Aghanim Scepter flying out to him. Boozer travels up on the Naga Sirens. She really has to up her split pushing game. Place a lot of pressure across the map since the tier 1 in the mid lanes and the tier 1 in the bottom lane still up. The tier 2 in the top lane is the only thing that's tier 2 talent still left. So they've got that going for them, and they should be able to defend high ground. Especially with the Weave as well as the Song of the Siren. Horsemen and Ruckus, they don't want to push into this unless they're able to get a great pick off through UGTFO or with Aegis, and Aegis should be wearing off in the next few minutes. Dumbled actually goes in for a ward. Doom's coming off cooldown 1 more second, so they might have to commit that. Yeah, they commit the Doom to Dumble D, and they bring him down with everything they have. The level death doing a lot of work as well. 2 FI, takes a fair amount of damage, uses the Shallow Grave very preemptively, and then gets mech'd up. So wasted Shallow Grave. Ward being pinged out, so they know there's a ward there. Drums of Endurance up on the Doombringer. Very strange game to go for a Drums of Endurance, especially this late on. He really needed to build towards the ultra late game. With the Boots of Travel as well as the Blink deck, he should have been building towards something like a Shiva's Guard, or an Aghanim Scepter, or even a Refresher Orb to just ensure that his team are able to get these Dooms off. So going towards a Shiva's Guard to a Refresher Orb would provide a lot more teamfight impact, or he could even just start stacking auras, pick up the AC, go towards a Shiva. They go in for a gank attempt, but King Killer immediately zips out. That's the split pushing power of the Ember Spirit. And with the Desolator up, he's doing a lot of damage to your towers if you leave him alone. Ancient Apparition, Ice Blast, flies out, Gats too far forward once again. UGTFO actually caught up in the ensnare. Never mind, it was UGTFO, not Gats. Caught up in the ensnare. But with the hookshot, he can always hookshot back to his teammates if he has to. And Weed Unit, the Naga Siren, a lot of pressures on her. She's finding her farm though. And the more farm she gets, the more effective her split push becomes. Since with the Boots of Travels, her images are moving very quickly. With the constant Riptide spam coming out from them. Actually, might be able to get a kill over on Gats. Gats could be taking a fall right now. He's fleeing for his life. Just barely able to DPS down the minion. The illusion, sorry, before it brings him down. And Sky leashing back the creep wave to delay the push. Dumbledy though, he's going to intersect the creep wave. He's got Aghanim Scepter up on him. Aegis has been reclaimed, so they weren't able to take a fight off the back of that. But they're doing everything they can to be able to prevent the push over in the Tier 1 towers. Ember Spirit probably wants to be building towards crit. He doesn't really need a BKB until much later on. Actually, might not even have to go for a BKB this game, just because all the abilities that will kill him, the Demonic Purge, the Doom, the Ensnare, they all go through BKB. So this game just wants to stack as much damage as possible. And Dumbledy, once again, he's going to be a bullet catcher for his team. Wants to draw as much fire as possible, and with the Aghanim Scepter upgrade, you can't ignore the Viper. He will kill your entire backline. Doom being committed for UGTFO, a lot of hatred up on him, and Razor's able to clean them up the plasma field. Looks like he could be, yeah, he's building towards a BKB of his own, so Razor with the BKB is able to get in the thick of things, and to try to drag the fights out for as long as possible, since with the Naga and burn damage and the Riptide, as well as the Razor Eye of the Storm and the Weave, huge amount of negative armor coming out from Weed unit, and that could be the avenue that they want to take if they want to win these fights, since Ember Spirit and Viper, not the highest armor on these two heroes. That's a great way to be able to bring them down. When it comes to the late game, what team do you favor there, Mule?
Ooh. I reckon the Radiant side will be better. Because Dooms gets bigger and bigger because of the Midas. If they don't catch out the Ember Spirit.
Because Horsemen and Ruckus, yeah, UGTFO as a third core. He doesn't really have any physical. He doesn't really scale that well to the late game. He provides you the initiation, the control, but doesn't provide you the damage. And if you doom the Ember, the Viper can't do enough damage on his own. But that being said,
yeah, the Razor should always steady link the Viper or the Ember.
Yeah. So if you get your doom up on the Ember and the static link over on the Viper, you neuter the two carries for Horsemen and Ruckus, and the rest of their team kind of falls apart without them. Since the Ancient Apparition, he doesn't have any lockdown on his own, and the damage from his Ancient Apparition Ice Blast, it takes too long for it to really be effective, unless he's able to combo it perfectly with the tanking Epicenter. But with the Shallow Grave as well, you've got that way to be able to delay that damage coming out. And Horsemen and Ruckus, they're pushing up while it's happening. Doombringer, split pushing the top lane. Naga Siren really needs to be doing this as well. He's been spending too much time over on base. He really has to be split pushing out the Tier 1 on the bottom lane. But Doombringer Sky, he's taking matters into his own hands. He's getting a split push, looks like he's going towards a BKB. Mirror Image flies out to try to do a bit of damage over on the boys from Horsemen and Ruckus. Ward has been placed out. So good recognition coming out from Weed unit as they want to spot out any initiation coming out from UGTFO. 5200 trying to clean it out. He eats the Viper Strike to the face. Continue to keep throwing it out. Actually catch him out with the hookshot as well as the Burrow Strike. 5200 almost takes a fall. Disruption being used over a Method Man. Song of the Siren resets the fight. Sky has to doom the right target. Doom Dumbledy as King Killer gets the hell out of dodge. He takes a fall. Method Man channels the Epicenter, blinks and catches out 3 with a Blink Burrow Strike. But unfortunately he's going to take a fall, a few more right clicks. He is able to clean up, deal enough damage on past the J for UGTFO to be to finish him off. King Killer actually jumps back and kills Sky. Forces out a buyback. 5200 hasn't used his Eye of the Storm. UGTFO gets another kill off the back of the hookshot. Sky's caught up in the Thunderdome using the leash, but he eats a Slater Fist to the face and takes a fall. Fist of Fury coming up from King Killer, but he's burning now. Fire v fire. And DJ Ganjo with the Radiance and the Scorched Earth brings him down. Very, very messy fight as Horsemen and Ruckus, they dive way too far in. That ain't your base, son. And they throw away any advantage they might have had in the early stages of the game. So 8,000 gold lead now in favor of Horsemen and Ruckus, down from 10,000. And 7,500 gold EXP lead is starting to get smaller and smaller. Reaver up on Naga Siren, so she knows that she has to fight a lot faster than she'd like. And so building the harder Tarask means you can fight faster and you can split push harder since your illusions are a lot harder to bring down. And Naga Siren with the illusions up can deal a huge amount of damage. I mean, one of the illusions almost killed Gat on his own. With the harder Tarask, he won't be able to DPS it down like he did before. And since the illusions move faster than you do, he actually should be able to just burn them down. And Catapult will be able to bring the tower down to deny range. Dumbledy denies it. Items haven't progressed ever since he picked up the Aghanim Scepter, so he'll probably be building towards a heart of his own. Veil of Discord almost up in the Sand King. Harder to Rusk is now up. Ancient Apparition, building towards his Aghanim Scepter. Looks like he should almost have it up by now. Shiva's Guard's now up in UGTFO as well, so he's got a huge amount of teamfight presence that he's bringing to the table. Since you want to clear out the Naga Siren illusions as quickly as possible through AoE damage. And the Shiva's Guard works very well against the Doombringer. Since he's a strength hero, he doesn't have the highest agi gain, because he has such low attack speed. Any attack speed snares are very effective against him. Still holding on to the Centaur Warrunner creep. Might choose to pick up the Ice Ogre creep to provide his teammates a lot more survivability, or he could choose to go for the Alpha Wolf. UGTFO uses the Shiva's Guard to clear out the illusion. Method Man, even though he's in Sandstorm, taking a lot of burn damage. He's already at half HP. King Killer's finally able to clean him up. Once again, very aggressive wards being placed out. Only one ward currently in the field. Or the defensive ward from weed units being able to spot out any advances to their Tier 3. Tier 2 should be taking a fall though. I don't think they can really defend this unless they want to commit a song. And no split push happening from weed units. They seem to be clumping up too much. Well, Gats continues to split push over the bottom lane on his own. Song of the Siren being committed. They know that Ancient Apparition isn't there. They're going to punish this. They have to doom the King Killer if they want to fight this. Zips out before he's able to get it. Turns around, dooms, double D and stats. The King Killer says, sweet, I've got a free get out of jail free card right now. Epicenter catches, kills too fucking high, catches out 3. DJ Ganja and Sky fleeing for their life. King Killer's got Slater Fist up very shortly, so DJ Ganja should be taking a fall if he's able to latch that combo. There we go. Slater Fist and Siren chains. One more right click. Slices, he dices. And the Blink Bar Strike catches out Sky. Viper Strike on top of that just to make sure he doesn't get away. And Cat's in the bottom lane. Continuing to split push. We've got a split pushing Ancient Apparition while all this is happening. Horsemen and Ruckus are able to take that fight 4v5. Even with the Song of the Siren to set up the Doom. Wasn't able to get the Doom over in King Killer. Forced to use it on Viper. And as a result, they got completely destroyed. Ember Spirit, left unchecked, will destroy every member of your team and will prevent them from fleeing as well, which is the more important part. Too fucking high. Unable to get the Shallow Grave off. He got blown up by UGTFO as well as the Epicenter coming up from him. Weave, which does a lot of work. Hookshot unfortunately misses. Static Link only able to get 1 tick, but he's going to be taking full. UGTFO doing so much work this fight. His Battery Assault keeps him in place. He might be taking a fall now to the negative armor. Yeah, the Demonic Purge is enough to bring him down. But that's a set of racks going over in the top lane. And once again, bottom lane, Cat's continuing to split push. One day he'll have his Aghanim Scepter. And King Killer, more damage up on him. Daedalus, a complete Daedalus is now flying out towards him. So if you thought that these fights were hard before, now with the Daedalus up, you have to doom him. And even then, once you doom him, you have to kill him off the bat. If he's able to get a single Slater Fist, he could swing the fights decisively. Naga Siren actually kills Gats. So finally sick of all the split pushing coming out from him. King Killer uses Slater Fist to clear him out. DJ Ganja, even with the Harder Tarask, he's still dying very quickly just because of the sheer amount of crit damage coming out and the cleave damage coming up from the Ember Spirit. If he clumps up with his illusions, Naga Siren eats a huge amount of damage to the face. Ember Spirit probably might want to keep stacking Battle Furies again this game since BKB is a completely useless item on him and he has some major damage items that he needs. He could choose to go for an MKB if he wants a bit more reliable damage. But in terms of cost efficiency, stacking Battle Furies is very effective once you have your crit up. What are your thoughts on the state of the game there, Emil? Do you think weed units should be are able to recover from this?
It's very difficult now. The Legion just died so fast from King Killer.
Yeah, they've got the split pushing capability.
Because he just zapped off after sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've got the capability to split push.
Stun. Time your stun.
Yeah. Doom has to be the time the Centaur hoof stomp. In time with DJ Ganja's Song of the Siren. They need to be split pushing a lot more effective. I mean, DJ Ganja should be split pushing with his hero as well. He's got Song of the Siren. It's a level 3 Song of the Siren. He could use it to prevent himself from being ganked and then TP back home. But instead, he's just sending his illusions out.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And it looks like he's going towards the Manta style so he can continue to provide the illusion support. But it just might be too little too late. Sky, even though he is quite farmed, still doesn't have his BKB yet. Has to constantly save for buyback as well. They can't afford to lose another fight against Horsemen of the Ruckus. And 5-200 over the Razor, no BKB up on him. Even if he does get the BKB, he's still going to be dying with the Slater Fist. He's still going to be called out by the Viper Strike. So it's going to be very difficult for them to be able to try to win these engagements. King Killer just stacking up gold. 3,000 gold up on him. He is obscenely stacked. terms of net worth. Naga Siren is actually keeping up, but the fact that she's depriving gold from everybody else and Gad's fleeing from his life in these illusions. So Weed Unit definitely do have the capacity to be able to turn this game around. Gad almost has his Aghanim Scepter, still not in these engagements, just sitting there passively farming away. I guess his teammates don't really need him there so long as he's able to land these ults. That's one of the advantages of the AA, but that being said, the Chilling Touch and the Ice Vortex still do provide a huge amount of damage. Shallow Grave being committed to the Naga Siren illusion to ensure they can clean out the creep wave. That's a 15-second cooldown being expended by the Dazzle, but with a level 4 Shallow Grave, it's not the end of the world. And Killer, the crits are real, 770 damage every time he crits. If he's able to do that on a grouped up team fight, he just completely destroys the supports. His Wu-Tang style is quite powerful this game. And the last game, it seems. 5200, he really wants to get his BKB to try to stay alive in these engagements, but even then, it's not going to be enough to keep himself alive, just because the side of fist damage is doing so much. Killer can continue to chip away at them, and he's doing this right now. He throws out a remnant behind him to ensure that it's going to be difficult for them to be able to try to pick him off. Charlotte Cray being committed on the illusions, just to be able to provide a lot of chip damage. And Killer, 4k gold up on him. He's farming up an absolute storm. Sky, he almost has enough for his BKB. And Cats, once again, fleeing for his life from the illusions. Dumbledore forced to commit the mechanism to keep himself alive. 4.4k up on him, so no items yet being built by Horsemen and Ruckus ever since they built their last set. Clockwork Goblin, same drop on him, so going towards that Heaven's Hellblood. Effective way to deal with the Razor. Especially since Razor doesn't have the BKB yet. Razor finally should have enough for his BKB, just from the passive tick gold at this rate. But while he was able to do fairly well against the Viper, he just wasn't able to, his teammate wasn't able to leverage that. Double BKB now up on both the Razor as well as Doombringer, so if they're able to take this fight, there's a lot of spree gold over on the hands of Horsemen and Ruckus. Sky blinks in, goes in for the Doom, unfortunately immediately zip out the reflexes. He forced to Doom UGTFO. UGTFO is the worst target in the Doom this fight. That's because he's already done everything he needs to. Epicenter lands on 3. Son of the Siren being used to be able to buy them some time. The very, very costly Doom. Slide of Fist just cuts past the J in half. Even off the back of that weave, they had that combination. The weave, the Eye of the Storm, as well as the Song of the Siren to set it all up, but Killer, he's just diving balls to the wall, just running in. He's got a remnant behind him, so he knows that they can't go for kill time. Every time Doom isn't used in the Ember Spirit, not only does a kitten die, your entire team gets wiped. Sky, looking at you, buddy. You gotta be landing these Dooms, but that being said, Killer, very fast with his reflexes, constantly remnanting out before he gets doomed. Realizing that he knows that his cast point's instant. Method Man split pushing over in the mid lane. He's gonna take the tier 3 and snare being used over on Dumbledore. There's no damage to follow up from that. And he still hasn't spent his gold. Almost 5k gold up on him. Ancient Apparition Ice Blast gonna fly through. Unfortunately, whiffs, clips on to FI. Zips on out with the remnant once again. Dumbledore, he's left to his own devices. They're gonna be using him to draw fire. Ember Spirit comes once again to slay the fist, and that's so much work. He almost decimates the entire lineup of his own. One right click gets a double kill. Method Man hanging there, going toe to toe with Dumbledore, past the J, just standing there in the sandstorm, saying, "I'm helping, I'm helping." Viper Strike unfortunately used on DJ Ganja. DJ Ganja turns around, finally able to get a kill with the Demonic Purge. Used the Song of the Siren to escape. He's actually frozen. He chose not to run and tried to TP 5200, calling out his own teammate for that play. Sky, Doom will be off cooldown fairly shortly. So he turns back around, pops the BKB, Doom's Dumbledore, so he's sick of him.
Oh, he dooms the Dumbledore.
Who's already dead, could have used a level death. And he gets denied by Method Man. So Jamie, never let it be said that he doesn't help out his team. Gats eats in the snap in the face, but DJ Ganja not able to really accomplish anything. And a Slide of Fist clumped up with the illusions. He dies instantly to that. The Naga Siren pickup really not working out at all this game. Too much greed coming out from the boys in Weed Unit, and Horsemen and Ruckus looks like they're going to be taking their first series 2-0. BKB being used by 5200, goes on for the link on 5200 on UGTFO. BKB's going to wear off, and Killer just man fights him down. Pulls up in the snare, throws out the Slide of Fist, ultra kill up on him. This could be the first rampage of the ODL. GG being called instead. DJ Ganja, he's not feeling too generous. He eats the Ice Blast. And 42 minutes into the game, Horsemen and Ruckus 2-0 Weed Unit, and a very convincing game number 2. Game number 1, things were dicey and they were able to just barely recover. But game number 2, Killer's Wu-Tang style, too overpowered. Any thoughts on the game there, Mule?
No, thank you for great Dota.
Yeah, it was some impressive Dota, that being said. UGTFO playing out of his mind on that Clockwork. Well, that being said, looks like that'll be it for tonight. I believe there should be a few series on tomorrow. So stay tuned for more Dota. VOD should be up sometime tomorrow. And that'll be it for now.